Washing stains like mud out of this shirt could eventually turn it this pink.
False.
Shifting chocolate stains could in time make these shorts this pale.
False. Not with new Ariel Colour. Its unique Colour Plus system makes it the first compact to replace the bleaching agents with colour-safe stain digesters. Unlike some powders, Ariel Colour can remove stains like this after one wash. And whilst constant washing can fade colours, Ariel Colour cleans them without bleaching.
They're clean and still green.
True.
Great, it does both.
True. New Ariel Colour digests stains without bleaching out colours.
Take the leanest chicken to make a delicious low-fat chicken chasseur. Bird's Eye Healthy Options, the best food made better for you.
After a few days, Warburton's bread is usually fit for the bin.
This is a nice cuppa. What is it?
It's freeze-dried instant tea.
You can't freeze-dry tea.
They freeze-dry coffee. Why not tea?
No.
Look, Tetley make the tea, Tetley freeze-dry the tea. You add water. You make the tea.
Tea comes from a tea pot.
Oh. All right, then.
New Tetley freeze-dried. Tea without the ceremony.
Before Columbus, a new series for Tuesdays on ITV.
The coming of the whites will be the beginning of sickness, the beginning of fever, the beginning of death.
Charting the invasion of the Americas and the persecution of the indigenous peoples since the historic voyage of Christopher Columbus 500 years ago.
We just want to be left alone. That's my life. That's our whole history out there.
Tuesday at 10:40.
Now at 10 o'clock we join Trevor MacDonald and Carol Barnes at ITN.
Fears of devaluation pushed a pound to the floor. Mr. Major cancels his one-day visit abroad. Pakistan floodwaters carry the destruction southwards. Worst casualties from Bosnian war arrive in Britain. And Mrs. Mellor speaks up for her Palestinian friend. Good evening. The pound fell today to its lowest level against the German mark since Britain joined the European exchange rate mechanism 2 years ago. The Prime Minister cancelled a one-day visit abroad and decided instead to stay in Downing Street. All day there's been talk in the city of a possible rise in interest rates or a forced sterling devaluation, although the government has consistently ruled that out. Today, one economist said foreign exchange dealers had scented blood after the devaluation of the Italian lira at the weekend. Labour said Mr. Major's decision to stay in London was an admission of economic crisis. Downing Street put it down to pressure of work in general. The pound closed tonight down 3 pfennigs against the German mark at 2 marks 78.21. That's less than half a pfennig above its ERM floor. The 100 share index lost all it gained yesterday, closing at 2,370, down 52.1 points on the day.
Rather unusual, shaking hands.
John Major, seeing his old friend Chris Patten today, stayed in London, said his office, to concentrate on the council tax and public spending. Few found that convincing as the pound hit the floor. But Expo 92 in sunny Spain was clearly no place for a Prime Minister at the start of what could be an old-fashioned sterling crisis.
There's little point in Mr. Major remaining in this country unless he is to remain here to act on jobs and on housing and on industry to try and lift the domestic economy out of recession.
But the government claims it will tough this out.
One of the things that the Chancellor has done with great skill and resilience is to refuse to be pushed in a way that the markets tried to do and always have tried to do.
The message Downing Street wants the markets to hear tonight is that it has set its face firmly against devaluation. The Prime Minister and his Chancellor believe that they have the weapons to defend sterling. But some senior Tory backbenchers think that if they have to eat their words, then this could be a resigning matter. All hangs on how the French vote on Sunday. But tonight the Foreign Secretary made it clear that even if they do say no, parts of the Maastricht Treaty could be saved, in particular on immigration and foreign policy.
I don't think anyone in their right minds believes that we should turn our back on this part of our common effort and go back to accepting the inevitability of fierce and, in the end, bloody foreign policies, rivals among leading European states.
But for now, all eyes are on the battle between the politicians and the markets. Joe Andrews, News at 10, Westminster.
It's on the floor against the Belgian franc. He wants a prize.
Just before 4 o'clock this afternoon, the pound hit its lowest permitted level against the German mark. Dealers suspect it's next in line for devaluation after the lira. Speculators had been selling the pound all day in the hope of buying it back cheaper if it's devalued. That happened to the lira last week, when speculators were estimated to have made profits of around £300 million.
There are certainly a number of the foreign exchange traders that feel that the government will have to devalue. They've sent in blood after the devaluation of the Italian lira. They've defeated the European governments in their view, and they feel that if they push hard enough, they may even get the UK government to do the same.
Dealers think the Bank of England bought pounds this afternoon to try and push up its value. But they know that massive buying of the lira by the Italians last week failed to prevent them devaluing. Today, European business representatives urged John Major to help stimulate Europe-wide economic recovery. But his immediate priority is not to back down over the pound, whatever the French vote on Sunday.
In the event of a no vote, the government will almost certainly have to move interest rates up. But even that wasn't enough to save the lira either. And eventually the lira had to be devalued, and I think it's quite possible that with a no vote, sterling might have to be devalued too.
Today, the foreign exchanges launched a frontal attack on the credibility of the government's policy. They don't believe it's pledged not to devalue the pound, and they don't believe that it's prepared to put up interest rates. Greg Wood, News at 10 in the City.
Our political editor Michael Brunson joins us now live from the Liberal Democrats conference in Harrogate. Michael, does the Prime Minister have a real old-fashioned crisis on his hands here?
Well, depends what you mean by crisis. If you mean a crisis in general, if you mean a huge loss of confidence among the majority of MPs, if you mean a state where there is such great public disquiet that there's rioting in the streets, no, he doesn't. But when you take the combination of public spending, of unemployment, of the pound, of Maastricht, of the economy in general, he's got a hell of a lot on his plate. And any one of those could perhaps trip up any government.
And how does he respond to the feeling in the city today, expressed today by Greg Wood, that in the end, Britain might have to devalue sterling?
They get quite angry about that in Downing Street. The point they say is this: the Italian economy was running out of foreign exchange funds to support the lira. Britain has got plenty of money, they say, to support the pound. The Italian economy was a basket case. Britain is now a low inflation economy. They say all will be well, the pound will be defended, they say, to the death.
Michael Brunson, thank you.
The Pakistani army, mobilized to fight the worst floods in decades, has started moving 500,000 people out of villages along the Indus River in Sindh province. The official death toll in the floods has already been put at 738, with hundreds more listed missing. First hit a week ago were the northwest frontier province, Azad Kashmir, and northern Punjab, where up to 2 feet of rain fell in a night. The Jhelum and Chenab rivers burst their banks, and 3,000 villages in central Punjab were submerged. The floods are expected to reach the Lakhana area of the Indus Valley on Thursday night. Our Asia correspondent Mark Austin reports from Multan, a city of 1 million people now encircled by water.
Today, Pakistan's flood misery continued. Millions of tons of water washing south, engulfing thousands of square miles of the country's most precious farmland. Crops and livestock wiped out, farms destroyed, and every day more people are cut off. Here, a man stands alone with the few possessions he could salvage. Even as we filmed, his house was disintegrating around him. The mass evacuation goes on. People fleeing by whatever means possible. Army helicopters are lifting out as many as they can, but it's never enough. Always there are those left behind in distress. Disease is a growing problem. Medical aid is available at some refugee centres, but in cut-off areas, clean water is now scarce. There's also increasing pressure on emergency food distribution. Under threat today, the place they call the City of Saints. Multan is one of Pakistan's religious capitals. Its dozens of mosques have become temporary shelters to those made homeless by the floods. This man says he'd lost everything, but was now afraid even the town itself wasn't safe.
Thousands of people have already fled Multan. Those that stayed behind are tonight praying that they and their sacred city have been spared.
Yes, the people were worried about their lives, so they have taken precautions. Some of them have shifted out of Multan.
Is there panic?
There has been some panic.
Multan, it seems, may survive, but there are many more towns that won't be so lucky. Mark Austin, News at 10 in central Pakistan.
Here, the Defence Secretary, Mr. Malcolm Rifkin, confirmed today that 1,800 British troops are being sent to Bosnia to escort United Nations relief convoys and to protect freed prisoners of the civil war. The Armed Forces Minister, Mr. Archie Hamilton, said if it proved too dangerous, they'd be brought out again. The men, who are mostly from the Cheshire and Royal Irish regiments, are based in Germany. Britain, not the United Nations, will foot the bill up to £90 million in the first year.
Britain sending some of its best trained infantry to Bosnia. Advance parties will set off this week, but the full 1,800 may not be ready to escort UN convoys for another month. A full battalion's going, some of the same men and equipment that fought in the Gulf last year. The Cheshires are backed up by armoured reconnaissance and engineers to clear mines. 8 countries will send troops to 5 areas of Bosnia. They'll protect relief convoys coming from Zagreb in the west and Belgrade in the east, supplying Sarajevo